Hello, my name is Camila Galvis,
And I am Hector.
and our project is called Song as a Source of Vocabulary Reinforcement and Oral Production. We have been developing this project in Centro de Lenguas de la Universidad Pedagógica Nacional. The participants are 36 students from two classrooms. Their ages range between 7 to 9 years old, and they have already reached an intermediate one level. Question.
We have a question based on the problems that we have observed. And the question is how does using songs can increase vocabulary and so enhance their motivation to speak in an intermediate, 7 to 9 years old children at Centro Lenguas.
Okay. The general objective or the main objective of this project is to increase the vocabulary storage through games with songs or activities related to songs and enhance the motivation of participation in intermediate 7 to 9 years old students from Centro de Lenguas.
So we took all that objective since on the observations that we have made, we observed that students' participation was not the best one, and they are not motivated to participate in those sort of activities, which we consider is an important ability to increase and to foster in students since the Central Lenguas propose an effective speaker of language in English in this case. So we base our project in that statement, right?
Okay, some of the specific objectives with this research project are to observe weaknesses related to language skills in the students, to gather information through different tools of data collection, to compare students' performance and vocabulary in class before and after activities with songs are given. Now, the main constructs we took out from this research project are speaking, motivation, vocabulary, and communicative approach. About speaking, and according to Tarigan, is a language skill that is developed in childhood, which is firstly produced by the listening skill, taking into account that in this case it is a second language, English. Of course, students face some difficulties, and one of them is about language itself. That's why we consider that speaking is one of the main constructs we have to work on in this project. The following is
The second one is motivation. We know that motivation is an important part of the English learning process, since students needs to feel the necessity to speak to learn a language. So, according to Lambert, motivation is something that maybe students need to develop in the classroom. So we have in here, we have in is intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. So through songs, we want to make students feel confident and comfortable in the classes when they are speaking or during oral participation activities. For sure, as I was mentioning before, motivation is part of the learning process, and it has to be in a good level in order to acquire all the vocabulary and the things related to English.
okay. The third construct we talked about is vocabulary. As we know, learning vocabulary in a second language is an ongoing process that takes time and practice. According to Nakata, vocabulary acquisition requires continual repetition in order to learn vocabulary effectively. If we can do this process or foster this kind of preference in students to get vocabulary through songs, maybe the process of memorization is going to be easier and more, let's say, comfortable and effective for them.
Okay, so the other construct is communicative approach. Since our project is based on speaking and oral production, while communicative approach is the approach that we consider is the closest one to develop in the activities in the application phase. So, well, we base this construct on Himes, and he proposed that the communicative competence is a competence that encloses, I don't know how to say that, like different skills. In this case, communicative skills. So we have to take into account the linguistic and grammatical competence. So through songs, we are going to increase vocabulary, and that vocabulary we are going to use it in order to use it in communicative purposes during the class or inside the classroom. So, well, we know that reading, listening, writing, speaking are essentials in the language acquisition. But in terms of sociolinguistic, we consider the speaking is one of the most important to develop and foster in students at that age. So that is part of the main concepts that we have in our project.
Finally, we're going to talk about the data collection tools we are going to use. Some of them are recordings, field notes, and activities of observation along with the semester. But of course, we are attached to what the Centro de Lenguas curriculum says and the schedules they are about to release or establish.
The activities that we are going to work on the application phase are going to be linked to the activities or the topics that the book that they are going to work the next semester. We are going to connect the topics so we can go along with the topics on the book, and we cannot be separated from those topics. And also our application phase is going to be related on the, as Camila said, on the dates that the Centro de Lenguas proposed during the semester. Taking into account or mention again about the data collection, we are going to use field notes, as Camila said, recordings. This is a speaking ability that we are going to work on. So we need to record on the process and development of students in terms of that skill, and for sure observations during the activities that we are going to apply.
Okay, that's all for now. I hope you guys like our project so far. Thank you very much.
Thank you.